So you're saying the fact that the world is literally imploding, I should find some form, some little utopia where there's a successful egalitarian society and not look at the fact that the world is imploding under patriarchy. That's what you're asking me to do?
Show me
No,
something in history.
y'all are
Hold
failing.
on, hold on.
Give me
You guys
something in
are
history. Give
failing.
me an example in
Patriarchy
history.
is 7,000 years old, and humans existed longer than that. Before that, it was matrilineal and it was an egalitarian society. In the agricultural era, when that came to be, when people started passing down land and they needed a last name, that is where patriarchy started. Go and look up how patriarchy started. It is because they wanted to pass down land and wealth through the man's last name, thus patriarchy. It is not because you guys are superior beings. It is not because you guys are smarter. It is not because you guys are better leaders. It is simply because we wanted to consolidate land and resources. Before that, we were in hunter-gathering mode. And when y'all continue to say you are hunter-gatherers, you were not. Women were out there hunting and gathering as well.
What society are you talking about? Black people or white people?
And gathering. These were humans, sir.
No, because it's a difference. Because y'all love to put the issues of white patriarchy on the backs of black men.
These were humans.
No, we're gonna get to that. Y'all love to bring up what white men do negatively and blanket it out and say all men do that. The most of the gripes that you're talking about is under white regimes, under European structures. Most of the issues you're talking about has not come under black men running things. So let's get that clear. You're not speaking about anything that we contributed to. You're talking about post-colonization, post-slavery issues. Those are where most of our issues came from. Most of our issues came post-colonization, post-under slavery. These issues are under European rule, European influence. That's where most of these problems come from. Now, can you show me, pretty intellectual, can you show me something in antiquity, in indigenous cultures that we participate in, not just human hunter-gatherers, specific nationality cultures that we participated in where women were just running things or under the negative leadership of black men? Can you show me that in history? Yes or no?
So you're already wrong.
I'm asking you a question. How am I wrong when I'm asking you a question?
Don't control how I answer.
I just asked you, do you have that information?
Anyways.
You don't have the information.
So you said the same thing earlier. Don't control how I answer.
You don't have the information.
You just brought up colonization, which is 500 years old.
We're still dealing with the ramifications of that.
Me saying patriarchy being 7,000 years old.
Whose patriarchy?
Do you hear how that doesn't make sense?
No, whose patriarchy? It does make sense. Are you talking about European culture or our culture?
Ella, you gotta let us finish.
Yeah, you're crashing, man.
I ain't crashing. You pretty intellectual, but you ain't really showing that.
Relax. So let me say this. All forms of society at some point had a form of patriarchy. They did not look the same, but it was patriarchy. Black men had their own form of patriarchy before colonization, because as I just said, colonization is much younger than patriarchy. If you do the simple math, things like FGM, female vaginal genital mutilation, existed at the hands of Black men, unrelated to white men, right? These were things that were constructed under Black patriarchy. So yes, it did exist before colonization. That's simply history.
Yeah, you gave one small example, but are you telling me that's not something that happened in mass? That was some tribal shit that happened sporadically. That's not something that was done when we was running Europe for 500 years. We wasn't mutilating women's vaginas. So what I'm telling you is, can you give me some information, like a book, a point of reference where I can read about how Black men were just destroying Black women before colonization and just had them under some terrible rule? Because from my studies, things were a lot better when we had our own thing going. Women were not under the same stresses they was under today. They knew their place, we knew our place, and we had, I wouldn't call it a utopia, but it was a definitely higher functioning society than we have now. Do you have any information that can offset that? Anything you can point me to, any point of reference that I can read about this terrible era of when men were just dominating Black women, and or the opposite of when Black women were ruling and things were at a utopian state because you were on top. Do you have any body of work that can provide that claim?
I don't do labor for men. Do it yourself.
Exactly. You don't have it. Like I thought. You just talking.
I'm not doing labor for you.
I got books. I don't need no help. We all. I'm Mr. I got books. I just want to know what you know.
Call FGM
no, it's called
example. Something
we're not leaders. Remember, so I'm asking a pretty intellectual for an intellectual response. And you didn't have one.
You want to say
you didn't have one.
Small and it's one little example that just goes to show the disregard for what Black women experience all across this planet.
Man,
unrelated to America, unrelated to colonization. You have completely disregarded the harm that
gives me the information. I asked you for information.
You know she don't have the information. Why you
yes, I do have the.
So give me a book. Give me a book reference.
You don't have to help him, humble. He got this. He can put up his big boy pants by himself. Here's the facts.
I asked you for some information.
That's the question. I gave you historical guidelines. I gave you an example of something that occurred without white men. You said white men created patriarchy. I said they did not. I said Black men had their I said Black men had their own form of patriarchy unrelated to white men. That is what I said. I gave you one example, but I also said that 6,500 years before there was colonization, there was patriarchy. Go look it up.
No, I already looked it up. That's why I'm asking you. Do you have any additional information? Because I when I say stuff, people know me. I'll bring a book like this book right here. So when you could talk so fluently like you talking, I want to know your source of reference outside of Google and ChatGPT. What bodies of work, what publications, since you're pretty intellectual, asking you for literature shouldn't be so far-fetched with the name you got. So if you're pretty intellectual, I would love to know some literature where I can read to further what you're talking about. And if you can't provide it like that, then you just talking. You ain't got it. You ain't got it. I'm not lazy at all. I got plenty books.
Do some work.
I ain't find what you talking about. So that's why I'm asking you. Maybe you could point me in another direction. Because when I read my history, I don't find that shit.
That's not the right. I got books. The right.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the spirited exchange. Yeah. Sweeney, you wanted to, all right, True, then Sweeney jump in after him. Go ahead.
I just wanted to interject something. How is it possible for men to enact these things if they weren't in the position of leadership for so many times and periods? If we were just not in leadership, how's that possible? That's all I wanted to add to that. And I'll pass.
She's not going to answer. Go ahead, Sweeney.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, my God.
I'm sorry. You said how if they weren't in leadership?
Yeah, because your stick is that you continue to try to denounce that men are not
being
leaders.
In a leadership position does not denote you being a leader. Do you understand how many people attain leadership position just because of nepotism? Literally,
that's irrelevant. Like
you asked a question. Okay. It is relevant because it is. Because if people are attaining positions unqualified, and once again, I've given you an example of what unqualified people who attain positions of leadership would look like. There's entire companies being run purely on their boards because the CEO is ill-equipped to actually run that company, and they just got the position because their daddy created the company or their grandfather created the company. So you're saying, how do men hold positions of leadership when they're unqualified to be leaders? Simply because we live in a patriarchy, and it's an assumption because you're a man, you're more qualified for leadership. That is the simple answer.
That wasn't my argument, but I know your white people like you answer questions is very interesting because you've done this throughout the broadcast. You interject things that are not necessary to build upon the argument, in my opinion, and you just did it a moment ago. So you introduce things like nepotism. Nepotism, regardless of if it's integral or not, is still within a structure. And this is why I think that we miss each other. Leadership doesn't have to be ethical, in your opinion. You're not the qualifying body that determines what leadership looks like. That's the issue that I continue to have from how you're pitching this. And sometimes a lot of women do this. You guys want to sit here and quantify what you believe should be the moral fiber behind it. And this now saying for you to say someone that you've never facilitated on that level is not qualified is blasphemous.
How do you know that?
No, I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm making assumptions. Like I'm sure you're making a lot of assumptions yourself. There is no way that you can stand. No, I'm just saying it should be, and I'm giving.
I've not assumed a thing about
you. Let him talk.
I'm giving some level of respect to just assuming you know what you may be talking about to some degree, but you try to dismantle it by pulling apart frame. And I don't know why we can't build upon that.